Some progressive Democratic congresswoman should, quote, go back to, quote, the places from which they came. Joining me now, Congressman Ted Lieu, a Democrat from California, member of the Judiciary Committee and a good friend to us here. It's always good to have you. So, look, I know you just moments ago, you replied to the president, quote, as an immigrant who served on active duty, I'm appalled you were telling us to go back. I'm not going back. America is our home. The president has got to know that this is going to rile not just Democrats, but a lot of Americans. What's behind this move?
Thank you, Alex, for your question. As an immigrant myself, I know that when we came to America, we were poor. My parents went to flea markets to sell gifts to make ends meet, and eventually they opened a successful small business. They achieved the American dream. It's one reason I joined the Air Force on active duty, because I believe America is an exceptional country. I never thought I would see the day when the President of the United States is telling immigrants to go back from where we came from. Donald Trump once again demonstrates that he's a racist ass. He is dividing Americans rather than trying to unify us, and I can't wait to see him leave the office of the president.
And you've made that sentiment clear a lot during your tenure there in Congress of late. But why do you think the president is doing this?
I think he's becoming increasingly more and more unhinged as he sees that things are going against him. He has not been able to build his wall. He has not been able to make the border situation any better. And now he's trying to do other things to amp up his base. Unfortunately, he doesn't understand that most Americans either are immigrants, have family members are immigrants, or have grandparents are immigrants. And his attack today is different because he's attacking legal immigration and U.S. citizenship. It is really a new low for him, and I think Americans are going to react very badly against the president.
Let's get to talking about the ICE raids now, because parents are fearing that they may be separated from their children who were born in the U.S. You have the acting Border Patrol chief, who used to be the ICE director, who was asked today whether these raids equate to more family separations. Here it is.
The design is not about family separation. That's not the intent. Never has been and never will be. The intent is to enforce the rule of the law. There are challenges, absolutely, but I can tell you the men and women of ICE, they are true American heroes. They are mothers, they are fathers, brothers, and sisters. They're going to apply this with humanity and compassion.
Can you take his word on that?
He is just gaslighting again, because what these raids are going to do is separate mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters from each other. And if these folks are dangerous, they would already be in jail or prison. What these raids are doing are going after peaceful families. They're going to end up separating some children from their parents. It is un-American. It is not needed. And once again, Donald Trump is doing this more as a campaign action because he knows he's not succeeding in his other fronts.
Well, L.A. is certainly one of the target cities. I'm curious what your are telling you about the raids.
They are horrified. They also realize that this is in part a publicity stunt for the president. And what we want to do is make sure that people no longer live in fear and terror. What we need is a pathway to citizenship. We need comprehensive immigration reform. It's something that the U.S. Senate passed on bipartisan basis a few years ago, and I think that's something we all need to work on.
Let's move now to the upcoming testimony of Special Counsel Robert Mueller, former special counsel, we should say officially. And I know that your committee statement says, quote, at his request, we've agreed to postpone the hearing for 1 week until July 24. Do you know why he requested the delay?
I do not, but I am pleased that Special Counsel Robert Mueller is going to give more time to be able to testify publicly in front of the American people. He will now testify for 3 hours before the House Judiciary Committee and then 2 hours before the House Intel Committee. And the American people will see unfiltered Robert Mueller talking about the main highlights of his report, which if you gave a fair reading to it, it would show that the Russians attacked us in 2016 in our elections, that the Trump campaign welcomed that interference, and then the president sought to obstruct on numerous instances the investigation into that interference.
And look, I know that you've called for impeachment hearings, certainly, but in terms of the timing of all this, is there a downside to it? Because potentially the momentum from Mueller's testimony may be lower than expected. He testifies right before Congress starts its August recess.
The Mueller report itself is very damning. Now, most Americans have not read it. It is a long report. So all we need is Robert Mueller to highlight the main parts of his report. We don't need him to say something he doesn't want to say or to have him say anything dramatic. If he simply highlights the main parts of his report, that will be extremely helpful to American people because they will see that, in fact, the President of the United States obstructed justice. They will see numerous instances of the president or his campaign associates welcoming Russian interference.
So you are confident that by just highlighting that which you deemed imperative in that report, that will be able to sway the American public when they hear this in Robert Mueller's voice?
I think it'll be extremely important for them to hear it in Robert Mueller's voice and for them to hear these facts for the first time, because many of them have been misled by Attorney General Bill Barr's misrepresentations of the report, as well as Donald Trump's misrepresentations of the report. And I think they'd be surprised when they hear Robert Mueller say that, in fact, the president ordered Don McGahn to fire Special Counsel Mueller, that he ordered that a fake document be created, that he did a number of other actions to obstruct justice.
All right, Congressman Ted Lieu from my hometown of L.A. Thank you.